This is Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome, everybody. It's Friday, December 11th.
I'm hitting them with the twist right now.
You're hitting them with the twist. That's the Cam. That's the Cam Newton.
Oh, what up?
I've never seen a better twist than Cam Newton's twist. I don't even know what that means. I'm worried about it.
Well, Cam Newton's celebration is fire.
Did you know I pulled off I did a little Cam Newton when I was on the flag football field.
Oh, you
didn't see it?
No way.
I missed it.
Well, I mean, I did.
You dabbing?
No. I scrambled a little bit in the pocket, and I behind the back passed to our right guard, who ran it for like 15 yards, and then I did the Cam Newton first down towards the bench.
Double guns. Okay.
The double guns.
The book it.
All right.
And it felt great. It felt great. Yeah, the book it.
It is the book it.
Book it. Yeah. So we're basically the same player, me and him.
Yeah. Pretty close.
So welcome to the show. We are the Fantasy Footballers, and we are back here on Friday talking through the rest of the Week 14 matchups. We've got your news and notes, all your injury reports. We have the Daily Dose segment.
Yeah, we're back. Chris Meaney's back.
Well,
after
it's just
a couple
one
weeks.
week. It feels like.
I think it was two.
No, it's just one.
No, the week before was.
No, he's right because we had Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
dear good friend of the show.
We
Chris
didn't
Meaney's
mean to leave him off.
See what you did.
Thanks. All right, you want to follow the show, you can do so on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Check us out on YouTube, on the Fantasy Sports Network. Check us out on the web, thefantasyfootballers.com. And we are fresh off of yet another Patreon mailbag show. We do an extra show every week for all of our supporters on jointhefoot.com. So we did that yesterday. That was a good time. Heard some good stories from people and their leagues and how they've come back from the dead to now rise in the playoff hunt. So let me get right into it right now because, Mike, you just got back from the Thursday night game. In fact, one of the Foot Clan listeners captured a screenshot of a camera seeing you.
Yes, I got spotted.
Which is hilarious.
Hilarious, and in that very moment of the game, I was furious with what was happening with the Cardinals. So it's a little bit low res, but I'm sure if you could see my face, I'm just staring. I'm mean mugging the crap out of that camera. Like, get it out of my face right now because I am not pleased with what is happening.
Well, let me ask then. The quick question of the day was this. What fantasy owner is the happiest and saddest after last night's game? We're in the playoffs. A lot of players playing.
I'll go with happiest.
Okay.
I think the happiest.
Michael Floyd owners?
That's what I was going to say. If you are in the playoffs and you've got a good team, but you're looking at that last spot and you're going, who do I start? Do I put Floyd in there? Or even I would say John Brown owners, you're happy, that he got that 65-yard touchdown. You get a bonus. I would say people that started guys like that, the lower tier, questionable tier guys that had a great game. You're off to a good start with your playoffs.
I'm going to go with the owners who were forced. They were pushed into a corner like Baby from Dirty Dancing.
Okay.
And nobody puts Baby in a corner. And the people who were forced to start Teddy Bridgewater last night, who had the best game of his career with, I think almost 350 yards, only one touchdown. But
now, how many of those yards were on this stupid screen passes the Cardinals can't stop?
It was all tight end screens.
That's ridiculous. So,
but it worked.
Who's the saddest owner from last night?
Saddest owner.
And did the Adrian Peterson situation pretty much met expectation, did it not? Because we looked first drive, which this happens a lot. Scripted first drive, plays are, running with anger. 4 for 38 and a touchdown for Peterson on drive number 1. Rest of the game, I believe 19 carries for 31 yards.
Yeah, 1.6 a carry.
There's that defense.
And I will tell you this. That was just a stab in my gut as I'm watching that because I just watched the Minnesota Vikings, who were inept last week, storm down the field on the Cardinals. And I was very vocal in my reluctance and concern about Adrian Peterson. Apparently I was very, very wrong, but I was about half right.
Now
the
there
touchdown
are-
saved his day.
I was going to say there are some disappointed. If anybody rolled out Stefan Diggs, you're disappointed. I don't know if you're doing that anymore.
You know who's
if anybody
really
rolled out
disappointed?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald
Yeah.
owners are disappointed, especially if you're in a standard league. He got 41 total yards, no touchdown. If you're in a standard and you don't get points for those 5 catches, you are not off to the races.
Right. And what was really frustrating was I'm the Larry Fitzgerald owner, so I may be skewed a little bit here. But on the Michael Floyd,
I believe you are. Yes.
yeah, but on the Michael Floyd touchdown, what is he doing over there? That pass was to Larry Fitzgerald.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
And then towards the end of the game, we were talking about this. Troy Nicholas, the tight end, thought, "Oh, that passes to me."
There was a reason I had Larry Fitzgerald as far down my rankings as I did, and it had to do with 1 touchdown in 7 weeks. Now 8 weeks, 1 touchdown in 8 weeks. The downfield balls are all going to a healthy John Brown, a healthy Michael Floyd. Larry has to make his money on 8 to 10 catch type games, and it didn't kind of materialize for him there.
No, it did not this week.
All right, I do want to, before we get into the news and notes, I want to remind everybody, we haven't mentioned it on the show for a while, but if you have an iPhone, go grab the Water Wheel app. Make some bets with your friends.
Or an iPad.
Or an iPad. That's correct. And yes, we know Android users would like it too, and we're going to get there. But right now, I just want to remind everybody, go get the Water Wheel app. It's free. It's really fun. We put it out there just so that you can make bets with your friends and then pay it out by dousing each other with water and then filming it and putting it on Twitter, and everybody can laugh, and it makes fantasy football better, which is the whole point of this show.
The Wheel of Water. Nobody got in that with me. Thanks, guys.
No, we didn't.
I considered it.
News and notes from around the league.
So first word you're hoping.
Yeah.
Second word you're desperate. Third word you're alone.
Third word. Yeah.
The third word was, do I bail out of this?
right. Do you Wheel of
You know what? I carried it
Finish
by
strong.
myself. I carried it alone.
Yeah.
What's up in the news?
All right, Gary Barnidge. We talked about the contract extension.
Did we?
I thought we did.
I don't remember
Yeah, we
talking
did.
about
We
We
it.
talked
broke
about
the
it on
news.
the-
I think that was on our special Patreon show. I think
No.
we broke the news.
I think we broke it on here when we talked about the fact a Foot Clan member had a picture with him and approved the nickname. Did we not?
You might be right. I don't remember.
So many shows, but let's
All right,
just say
so
it again.
Barnidge signed. He's with Cleveland. Honestly, this is what I call. I mean,
Good for you, Gary Barnidge.
there you go.
Good
All
for
right,
you.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore. All right, Chicago Tribune reports Bears wide receiver Kevin White will not be activated from the reserve PUP list. This is the smart move.
John Fox. He got us again with his injury
did.
reports.
Not that it was going to affect fantasy owners very much. All right, we didn't talk about it yesterday. We're getting into that game today, but Rob Gronkowski was seen at practice, bulky brace on the knee. It sent a shiver up my spine as okay, is he going to go? Is he not going to go? What are we thinking about Gronkowski right now? And I know he'll be in the injury section, but this is a little bit more worthy of a discussion because it affects everybody in fantasy football who has Rob Gronkowski.
If Gronk plays, you play him, and I don't expect him to play this week at all.
I do not expect him to play, and the difficult thing about this is if you don't have Scott Chandler or one of those later tight ends, who are the Patriots playing? I can't recall off the top of my head.
The Texans.
Texans.
So Ryan Griffin.
So, yeah, if you don't have Griffin or a guy, you could maybe go with the
Monday
TIE
night.
fighter with the Giants or Jordan. You can play Jordan Cameron.
So I've got a question for you. Let's say what the point that you're making is
You can't wait for him. 'cause
yeah,
he's
you can't
Sunday
wait
night.
to see if he's there. If you are the owner right now of ASJ, right? He's got a good matchup, a good solid play this week, and it looks like Gronk really might play, but you're curious by that time. Would you drop ASJ and pick up a Griffin or a Ty who
to play the risk.
to play the risk of
I
being
would
able to
do it with Ty.
Yeah,
I would do it
that's
with
where I was
Ty.
going.
Okay.
Now, here's a catch if you're a Gronkowski owner and the ASJ owner, because ASJ looks like he has a lot of upside
That's
as
Austin
a
Seferian
fill-in.
Jenkins.
Yeah, Austin Seferian Jenkins. Next week, so we don't think Gronk will play. I really don't. It doesn't make sense. But this is good sign for him maybe playing next week. And if they somehow lost to Houston, that's 3 in a row. They got to win the game. Next week, though, on Thursday night, Buccaneers play on Thursday night, which means
Not good for Gronk
if
owners.
you're trending and trying to figure out Gronk, you've got Austin Seferian Jenkins on Thursday you have to decide on. Which
Hey,
is,
Andy,
which
can I
is
ask
painful.
you? Can I ask you a question? You're a Gronk owner. Who'd you pick up as your tight end?
Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
And if you win this week, who you got to play next week?
I don't know.
It's me.
Oh, who do I have to play?
Yeah.
See, I was looking at the
You're
more.
going to fill in.
I was looking at the more broad context of fantasy football about who I'm
Nope.
going to play, but you were
Tunnel
focusing on the tunnel vision. Okay, let's go ahead and what else do we got? The Browns are working towards signing Travis Benjamin to a contract extension that would help that offense.
It's all Browns all the time here in the news.
I was
going to
say, what is this going on here? All right, let's move it on.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
All right, in or out, Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson.
As of now, they're both expected to play, but monitor their Friday practice situation.
I still have C.J. Anderson as my sit of the week, so I'm not.
Coming
buying
off that
it.
ankle injury, and Hillman has a foot injury.
Yeah. The reports are ambiguous as ever from Kubiak, saying basically he expects guys to practice, but then Juwan Thompson could start. So if one guy's alone or close to alone, I'm happy starting them in that matchup.
Be very ready on Sunday to have to make a change if you're a Broncos running back owner.
In or out, Carlos Williams.
I think he'll be out.
Yeah, looking that way.
In or out, Chris Thompson.
The good news is Chris Thompson. I don't know if you heard us talking about his tear yesterday.
He has a tear.
They've successfully stitched him back together.
Uh-huh.
He's whole again.
A bad magic accident is what I understand.
He has not practiced at all this week, so I would be doubtful that they can Frankenstein him together enough to play.
Don't trust those street magicians.
This is the type of
analysis
you get on the show. All right, Brandon Cooks, big news yesterday. This is borderline just breaking. Concussion during practice this week. Almost assuredly not going to play. Is that what you're hearing as well?
I can't imagine a situation.
Because the whole protocol situation.
where he plays.
This would hurt Drew Brees as well. Willie Snead is
It would help
hurt.
Benjamin Watson.
It would help Coleman. I think Coleman caught a good pass last week. I mean, the balls have to go somewhere.
For his family league, they'll play him.
Yeah.
Good. Alan Hearns, in or out?
I think he'll be in, but he was downgraded on Thursday's practice to limited, so you need to monitor that.
You never like seeing guys downgraded, but if there's somebody who I would trust, it would be Alan Hearns.
Travis Benjamin, in or out?
He says that he is going to play. He says, I guarantee I'm playing. He was a limited participant on Thursday, so I'm going to take him at his word and say he plays.
In or out, Cecil Shorts?
I think he'll play.
Kendall Wright?
I think he'll
Play injured.
Yeah.
Willie Snead?
He better play.
They
Saints
pretty much
need him.
have to have him.
And then Rob Gronkowski at the tight end position?
I don't think he plays.
Zach Miller,
He played
who
last
now
week.
is alone without Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, he played last week through his I think it's a rib injury.
He's a
and
sneaky play, I think.
Charles Clay?
He'll play.
Vernon Davis.
He is questionable to me.
So he had the concussion.
Yes, correct.
So we don't know about him quite yet. So that's anybody else we need to mention?
I think that's all the big guys.
The big guys?
So before we get to a massive round of the fantasy forecast, I hope your batteries are charged and you are prepared.
Buckle up.
Because we're getting into it. We want to thank our sponsor of the day, PokerStars.net. Look, we all like playing a game of poker. It is fantastic fun. And at PokerStars.net, it is easy to get started. Just go, you sign up with your email address, and you can play for free as long as you want. You start with 1,000 chips. You can reload for free a couple times an hour to get into the higher stakes games. Just get a couple extra chips here or there. It's the biggest game in town. It's the largest poker site in the world. There's hundreds of regular tournaments each day. Over 10,000 players online at any time. Over 2 million hands played per hour.
Yikes.
Per hour. Over 140 billion hands played to date. That's a lot of poker going on at PokerStars.net. And it's easy to play while you're traveling. You can play on your computer, your iPhone, your iPad, or your Android device. You can set up a club for you and your friends, your fantasy league. Some guys are out of the playoffs. What should you do? You get together, play a couple hands of poker. It's a good time. And all you got to do is go to PokerStars.net.
That's it.
Good times.
Easy.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right, let's break these down. We've also got our DFS segment coming up, and we got some mailbag. We want to answer questions from the listeners, so it'll be jam-packed. It might be a little long. I think you'll be all right, right?
Megalodon.
Everyone's going to be okay?
Whoa.
No, don't bring that word up again.
Hey, there is a Megalodon show coming up.
We haven't even announced that yet.
I'm announcing it right now.
Jason,
I'm breaking the news.
He's always doing
He's
this.
the blurter.
He is
Yeah.
the blurter, the fantasy blurter.
On Christmas week, we are going to have a Megalodon show the Wednesday before. The Christmas Eve is our Christmas present to you all. So if you lose and you're out of the playoffs this week, which I doubt you do because you listen to this show, but
It happens.
More and more, you're going to be playing other people that listen to the show.
It's going to happen to Mike, so it can happen to you.
It's not looking good for Mike.
If that's your situation, make sure you keep listening. It's actually really valuable. One of the things that I've noticed over the years is that players who lose early, let's say you didn't make the playoffs, you stop paying attention, and that hurts you so much for the following year to be able to know the late season trends that make such an impact on the following year on the draft season. So hopefully we're entertaining enough where you can keep listening whether you're in it or out of it. We still get a lot of questions, actually questions coming in from people who are out of it. Kudos to you. You are already playing strong for next year. So
one of the things that really surprised us and shows you about fantasy owners that know what they're doing is that when we first started this podcast in the very beginning, we started in the offseason, and the incredible demand for the offseason content, because there really isn't an offseason. We don't even like saying that. We say it's preseason for 2016 because there's so much news. There's always free agency and the draft and trades and things that take place, and then all of the changes just with players and things like that, and strategy changes and depth. So there's so many reasons to listen, and so that's why we record all year round. We don't just do that for fun because people check out. We do that because people want it, and so that's why we're doing it. And so it's a good reminder. Lions go to St. Louis, take on the Rams. Take on the Rams, and I like the Lions defense a lot. That's the headliner for me, is stream the Lions defense.
Yes, I think the Lions are a top streaming defense this week. Have we heard any news if it's Nick Foles or Keenum? Have you guys heard anything? As far as I know, it's still Nick Foles.
Yeah, I think it's still Nick Foles until we get a clearance for Mr. Keenum.
And as far as I know, it doesn't matter if it's Nick Foles or Case Keenum.
Nick Foles will start at quarterback for the Rams.
There you go.
15 hours ago.
So the Lions are a great streaming option. Stafford, I think he's an okay play here. The over-under's only 40.5 points. I mean, that's lower. That's on the lower end for sure. But Stafford, with the offensive changes they've made, has been playing better, at least in terms of putting up fantasy stats. The guy that I want to talk about, Amir Abdullah, not just because he was I was passionate about this man coming into fantasy drafts and has since gone the way of the dodo bird.
Yes.
However, St. Louis is giving up over 4 yards a carry the last 3 weeks. Abdullah is coming off his best game of the year on the ground. He's had double-digit carries the last 3 weeks. Things are trending in the right direction to finish the season for Amir.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Because the team's playing well. It was so disappointing for their momentum to have what happened at the end of the Packers game, because they had just been playing so well. They won that game. I guess that's not true.
Yeah.
But
not in the win-loss column.
Right.
They didn't
But this
win.
should be a good game for them. Stafford's a good start. Foles was 15 for 35 for 146 yards
bad?
last game. That's a nightmare season for Foles. That somehow he got an extension in the middle of, and that just shows.
No, because he got in classic Jeff Fisher nature. He got the extension before he even saw him play.
I'll tell you what, this game is a Jeff Fisher on call type of game.
So, yeah,
I think they go to the Lions and they lose.
Well, they're at home,
or they have the Lions come to town and they lose. I'm just saying it's not looking good for the future of Fisher.
I agree. He'll get fired too if they show up in Detroit
Yeah.
and the Lions
Like, what
are
are
in
you
St.
doing?
Louis.
All of our fans came and you weren't here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's no one at the stadium.
I want to really know this, though, because a lot of people that I've been telling to stream the Lions, who do you stream them over? Like, the Lions seem so safe to me. They seem like one of the safest defenses in, like, if you're a favorite, okay, would you rather play the Lions than the Chiefs?
No.
Because the Lions,
yes.
the Lions are facing a Rams offense that can't score at all.
If you're
And the Chiefs are facing San Diego team that okay, they've struggled a little bit, but it still scares me to go up against a Breeze or a Rivers or a big quarterback like that.
I see exactly what you're saying. If you're in a league that has, incredible negative performances from defenses from time to time, then yes, I would agree with you. But even when you are favored, you still need to put up points. You don't know what's going to happen. I like Kansas City more this week, so I would play them. But I think the point you're bringing up is great. You're not going to have the St. Louis Rams put up 35 on you and, crush you.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible. I really don't. So the Saints go to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. This is a very, very high-scoring projected game, over 50 points in Vegas right now. And the Buccaneers are playing well. The Saints, we talked about Brandon Cooks. Maybe that adjusts the line a little bit now that he's in concussion protocol and injured. But Mark Ingram's out. We need to know what to do with our running backs for the New Orleans Saints, because a lot of people picked up Hightower today. A lot of people picked up C.J. Spiller today.
Yeah, it's we honestly don't know. There's been no real clarification. The biggest clarification we've gotten from the Saints was Peyton saying all three guys are going to play, including the rookie. So good luck. Good luck if you're going to just throw a guy out there like Hightower for your fantasy playoffs. I understand. So let's talk worst case scenario. You have no better option. Would you go with Hightower or Spiller?
I would rather go with Hightower, because if they're using him in that Ingram role, that means he's going to get the ball early. He's going to have the first opportunity. He's probably going to touch the ball the most. He's going to be more utilized in the goal line situation. Those type of things, I think, are where you're going to see Hightower used. You saw when he was signed and picked up, he came in and had 11 carries early on.
Well, he's 12 for 48 on the year for 4 yards a carry.
Yeah, so I don't know how everything is going to pan out. Now, if you're in a PPR league, that shifts it a little bit. Yeah, especially with Brandon Cooks being gone, they might need to use C.J. Spiller as a pass catcher a little bit more. That's obviously new information from yesterday. So if I'm in a PPR, I would probably lean Spiller. If I'm in a half-point PPR or regular, I would lean Hightower.
Hightower is just an incredible story, because he hasn't played a game. I mean, he went a gap in his career from 2011 to 2015.
That's wow.
And basically, he didn't play in 2011. So it was basically 2010
He's fresh.
to 2015.
He's very fresh.
I mean, people who hear that name, they go, wait, do I remember him? Yeah, he was on the Super Bowl team for the Cardinals in 2008.
Yeah, so if you can pass block as a running back, you can get a job.
And that is the big knock on C.J. Spiller. That's why when the news broke and I was an Ingram owner, I went to Twitter and said, the guy that I'm picking up is Hightower. But the question is, who would you start Hightower?
No one.
Oh, I was saying this is worst case scenario.
Would you start Hightower or Jeremy Langford?
Langford.
I would take Hightower. Would you take Hightower or Darren Sproles?
Sproles.
Yeah.
I would take Hightower.
Probably.
Hightower or Melvin Gordon?
Gordon.
I would go Hightower. So
So
apparently
you
I'm higher on
Hightower on
than-
all three of those.
Yep.
So you must have some insight.
Isaiah
as to
Crowell or Hightower?
Crowell.
Crowell's got a great matchup this week.
Well, Crowell he's been getting carries. He's just not been productive. It's a I don't know. I have no idea what the Saints are going to do.
So in general, don't play Hightower. Hold him. See what happens.
That's the strategy here. If you can, I mean,
Yeah.
if you can't, if you're completely screwed, if you had no depth, then maybe you have to roll him out there and just take a chance. But the Buccaneers are 7th against the run. They don't give up a ton of yards on the ground. Austin Seferian-Jenkins is a good start in this game, as the Saints are terrible against the tight end and most other metrics for defense in general, which makes Evans and Vincent Jackson good starts. Would you agree with me?
Absolutely.
So Vincent Jackson's somebody that is a tougher decision for people. So would you start Vincent Jackson or Deshaun Jackson this week?
I would start Deshaun Jackson. The matchup is great for Winston, and the matchup is great for Evans and for
Dez
Vincent
Bryant.
Jackson. But one of the problems that you've got here is what we're forgetting. They were all healthy, once before, and there's not enough passes to normally go around to have all three have a productive day, and it was a little bit more of a guessing game. So for me, any one of these guys can have a big monster game, but do you see any world where they all do just because it's New Orleans?
Yes.
I see it as a possibility, but it's the possibility that any of them can, which is the
It's
same
the same thing we
logic
saw last night.
where I said start your Cardinals. Now, and it was unfortunate it didn't work out for the Fitzgerald owners, but John Brown, David Johnson, Michael Floyd owners are very happy.
How many games has Jameis Winston thrown for 300 yards?
0
in the whole year.
Yeah, which is why you
okay.
got
Okay, all right.
But it's touchdowns through the air is what
They're at home.
the Saints are giving up.
Worst defense. A Saints defense that has given up a lot of touchdowns. I would not hesitate to start one of those guys.
Okay. So would you start Vincent Jackson over Deshaun Jackson?
No. I start Deshaun Jackson. I have Vincent Jackson at like 24.
Yeah, Deshaun
and
Jackson.
No, I have him basically back to back.
Deshaun Jackson is getting a decent target volume for a player of what he does, where you want the big play, but he's still getting 7 targets.
It's close for me. It's close because of the matchups. Yeah. So the weird thing is the Saints have actually not given up a ton of yards to wide receivers over the last few games, so it makes me think ASJ has good potential in the offense, as well as Charles Sims and Doug Martin. We'll see how that breaks down. Obviously, everybody can't have a big game, but the matchup's delicious, and the Buccaneers are trending upwards. Now, the Chargers head to Kansas City, to Arrowhead, to take on the Chiefs. It's funny because it looks like we always have the weather in here. But where the dash is, it looks like it's going to be negative 48 out. So I'm going to like the defenses in that situation. What can we do? Rivers looked like a guy that was playoff startable. Now he looks like a guy that you have to run from as fast as you can.
I imagine Phillip Rivers right now and the guy from Back to the Future 3 coming up with his measuring tape, and Phillip Rivers has no idea what's going on. The guy says, "Oh, no, I'm just measuring you for your coffin."
I remember that.
Because Phillip Rivers is going to be destroyed. Unfortunately, there's not very many situations where I'm playing Rivers, and by destroyed, I mean his offensive line is in shambles. It has been all year, and the Kansas City Chiefs pass rush is spectacular. That is the strength of their defense, and he won't have enough time. He's going to get hit. He's going to get sacked to the point of
and he doesn't have reliable outside weapons anymore.
Correct. Inman. We saw him have that pretty devastating injury last week. Stevie Johnson had a groin. Jason, do you have an update?
Yeah, I was going to say both Stevie Johnson and Dontrell Inman didn't practice at all, and neither did Stevie on Thursday. So
That's not good news.
You're talking about no weapons. Plus,
they went
Keenan
out and
Allen
signed Vincent Brown for a reason. They are not expecting their guys back.
Yeah, when you don't have good options to throw the ball to, and you've got a pass rush coming to your face like crazy, the one thing that does make me consider a little bit more would be Danny Woodhead. I feel like
I was just about to say that song has been sung 3 weeks in a row. It's over for me.
Yeah,
that's the same.
Agree.
It's the same story every week. It's Danny Woodhead's going to be the beneficiary of a bad offense. No, he's not. He's going to be the guy they stop, and they've stopped him every single week.
Well, they haven't really even gone to him. He's been stopped, yes, but he's not getting the targets like he was at the beginning of the season because they're really trying to get Melvin Gordon going.
So, all right, Chark, West, Spencer,
yes.
where?
What was that? That was very syncopated.
Where in West? Where do we go?
Where do we go?
You sounded like Captain Kirk over there.
Make a decision.
Chark
running
Henry.
back should we go with?
You got to go with Chart West here. I know that it was very split, and Ware got the touchdown last week. It was split, but West was coming off a pretty nasty hamstring injury. I believe that he is the much better fit for the offense. He is the pass-catching back. I will still lean to him, though I do I feel that both are startable. Ware more as a flex, though. But because the Chargers, their run defense is so bad.
Char West or Gio Bernard for you guys?
That was the question I was literally just going to ask. I think I would go Char West.
I'll go Char West.
Okay, I have Gio a little bit higher. What about Char West or Latavius Murray this week?
Char West.
Char West.
Jeremy Hill?
Char West.
Probably still West.
All right, and then the last guy I want to talk about here is the Jeremy Maclin effect of facing Verdette.
Verrett.
What did I say?
Verdette. You put a D in
Verdette
his name.
was he's a player for the Arizona Coyotes hockey team.
I was going to guess, is that a hockey
Yeah,
mistake?
it is. So Verrett and Maclin, Last time they faced each other,
Was not good.
it was not good for Macklin. I'm not going to Macklin's trending in the right direction right now, and I do think this is the type of game that if it goes according to script, which it can, lots of things change. I worry about the passing offense for Kansas City in general. If they can get it done on the ground against one of the worst run defenses in football, if their defense can cause turnovers, short fields, running offense, the yards might not be there. Because we saw this happen with Macklin. Jason, we talked about this before. Macklin had 2 big games, but against against, who was it? They played, was it Oakland?
When he had bad games?
Well, he faced somebody where the game was just over.
This is one of those games. It was 33-3 was the final score of this game. So it's like,
That's the one I'm
why
thinking
would
of.
you use Jeremy? Why would you use your wide receiver at all? You don't need to. And so that's the issue with this game is Kansas City going to come and just blow them out? The truth is, can San Diego score on Kansas City? That's the question of this game.
Yep.
Without their weapons, can they score on Kansas City? Because if they can't, it's not going to be a very great game to play Jeremy Macklin is my guess.
Yeah, so he has been playing great. I still think he's in my lineup because that 33 points has to get distributed somewhere if they scored like they did last time. But it is worrisome that he only had 3 catches in that game, and game flow can be a problem. It's funny how you can spin the perspective on a player both directions, right? Like, we're saying the Kansas City Chiefs are likely to win. Vegas has them as 10-point favorites, and we're saying that could be bad for Macklin.
Well, because the truth is, just like last time, it could be the defense that's scoring. It could be another pick 6.
Yeah,
Rivers has thrown 6 pick 6s on the year. So if the defense,
how many has he? How many pick 6s has Phillip Rivers picked 6?
Can't pick
how
a
many
6
pick
if he
6
in a
with
pick.
There you go.
Wheel of water.
And Alex Smith is the last guy I'm going to touch on. He had 253 yards, but no touchdowns last time he played against San Diego, like we talked about, because the defense was putting a shellacking and the run game was out of control. However, I have Phillip Rivers and Alex Smith on my team, and I am tearing my shirt off like a free man, and I'm putting Alex Smith at the wheel of my team in the playoffs, and I feel very nervous about it.
I like Alex Smith. He was the start of the week last week, put up a 30-point game. He definitely can do it. They're going to score. It's just a matter of where that happens.
He's running for basically 30 yards a week the last 4 weeks, so that's a nice little bump.
All right, we got to move on. Colts go to Jacksonville, take on the Jaguars. This game's basically a toss-up right now because of the Hasselbeck situation. Blake Bortles coming off a 5-touchdown week. Good game for Yeldon last week. Allen Robinson was a monster. And Julius Thomas on the Jacksonville side is ascending. He's my start of the week at the tight end position. There's a lot of great reasons to like the offense for Jacksonville. Let's talk about the offense for the Colts because I don't think there are a lot of doubts on who you're starting on the other side of the ball. So Frank Gore, T.Y. Hilton. Hilton is the hardest person for me. Almost this whole year has been the hardest person for me to say, oh, yeah, you got to start him this week. He's great.
Yeah, because of what he does best is a direct conflict of what Matt Hasselbeck does best, where Hilton is a spectacular deep ball guy. Now, he can take screens and things and get it done, as we've seen where 2 weeks ago he had a great game. He had a pair of touchdowns. Even Moncrief got in the action over 100 yards. And I can't recall what Hilton put up last week. What did he put up?
Last week he had 3 for 36.
Yeah, it's so
that sums it up.
And exactly. You've got a complete gamble.
Low floor, high ceiling.
That being said, I would expect him to have better numbers against Jacksonville than he would against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who he put up the 3 for 36. So I'm a little bit more comfortable starting Hilton. The problem is going to be Hasselbeck's shoulder. He's practicing now. He's practicing in full. He's going to start. So there's no worries there. But, again, the deep ball, I think, would be the worry. Frank Gore, to me, is the Colt that I would want to play.
Well, I was going to say, why is everybody grimacing when they put Frank Gore into their lineup right now?
Because he had a couple games in a row where he looked like he was not running well, and he was hurt. He was playing, but he was playing hurt, and he didn't run very well. Last week, though, he ran okay. He also got involved.
What did he have last week?
Last week he was 13 carries, 45 yards on the ground, 3 catches for 49 yards through the air with a touchdown.
So it's really saved his fantasy day with his catching.
Yeah. And today, I mean, this week with Hasselbeck with that hurt shoulder, I mean, that's a check down Charlie type of situation.
Yeah, it could be. This is why people are concerned with Frank Gore. The same reason they were at the beginning of the year. He's older. He has so many carries on his body. Can he sustain an entire season? Then you couldn't do this stretch late in the season where he looks like he is slowing down. So, of course, you're going to have concern on him. I don't blame people for it.
Falcons go to Carolina to take on the Panthers, the undefeated Panthers, the Cam Newton-led Panthers. What are we expecting from the Falcons offense? Because they haven't had much.
Yeah.
If you look at the problems that I see on that offense, and the reason they're trending this direction is you have Julio Jones and no one else. You've had, very limited production from an old Roddy White. You've had Leonard Hankerson now on IR. You have Devin Hester, who hasn't contributed at all this year. It's like Tammy and Julio and Devontae Freeman. Yeah. But Freeman's not a wide receiver. But he has to play one on TV.
Yeah, that's he basically is. I mean, that's why he gets 5-6 catches a week. You can book it.
So where do we want to start in this discussion? Jonathan Stewart has 8 straight weeks of 20-plus carries. He's in your lineup. Cam Newton's in your lineup.
Yes.
Ted Ginn, Julio Jones. Talk about both sides here for me. Talk about your concerns with Julio. Where's his baseline really with Josh Norman? And should people be concerned about a couple of limited practices this week?
I don't think you should be concerned about the limited practices at all. That's veteran treatment. Calvin Johnson has been limited since 2012, basically every single day.
Right.
And he plays, and I expect Julio Jones to play. It's the hot topic of Julio Jones versus Josh Norman. Yeah, there's some concern there, but you play Julio Jones in this matchup. This isn't I don't have the Adrian Peterson concern that I had for
17 targets last week for Julio Jones.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Julio is going to be fine against Josh Norman. I don't think it's a gigantic deal. Josh Norman stays on the outside. They move Julio around. They'll put him in the slot. They'll put him on the left. They'll put him on the right. And so he'll have Josh Norman on him, a good chunk of the game, but not all game. And if you look, it's actually kind of how they use Brandon Cooks as well, who played last week. Brandon Cooks had 6 for 104 and a touchdown. So to say that Julio can't have a good game is silly. And I'm not sitting Julio. Julio's who got you to the playoffs. Start him and start him over most all guys.
Do you think Julio Jones, when he's lined up in the slot, will point at Josh Norman and be like, "Nana boo boo, you can't guard me"?
Probably not.
And then Josh Norman, drats,
foiled
again.
Probably not.
What? That's gonna happen.
What's funny is that Norman has been talking up the matchup a lot. I think he said a Jerry Maguire line of like Julio completes me or some joke about their matchup, and Julio's like, I don't care. He's like,
Julio cares.
He's like, I don't get motivated by that. I get motivated to play for my teammates.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Well, okay,
so Ted Ginn.
Yeah,
we can touch on Ted Ginn. To me is John Brown with worse hands. Of course, I'm not giving him John Brown's catching ability, but he's a guy that you can have some confidence starting because at least a few times a game, Cam Newton's going to take the deep shot. Does it connect? Maybe. We saw John Brown do it last night and against Atlanta. I don't see a reason why it can't happen at least once. So Ted Ginn he's an okay flex home run start for me.
Okay,
perfect.
And then Matt Ryan, you're getting the sit down this week.
Oh yes, Matt Ryan.
Okay, and anything else there, or can we move on to the next matchup?
That's all I see.
Are you guys going to start Greg Olsen?
Yeah, he's in.
All
right, Titans at the New York Jets. Jets are favored by a touchdown in this game. Marcus Mariota is coming off a huge game, especially on the ground. Can you play Marcus Mariota this week? And if so, who would you play him over?
This comes down to maybe I'm being silly. I don't know. If Darrelle Revis plays, which it sounded yesterday like he is trending to play, he was on the field. He had the red no-contact jersey on, but he was out there. So I believe that speaks very positive to his ability or his chance to play on Sunday and clear the protocol. if Revis is playing, I don't stream Mariota. I think there's much better options available.
I think Mariota can have a fine week. I really do. I'm not worried about him, but from a fantasy football perspective in the playoffs, you see him have big games and have lousy games. There are so many options that I would rather start over Mariota this week.
Hoyer.
I would rather start Hoyer. I would rather start Alex Smith,
Alex Smith,
Ryan Fitzpatrick, Blake Bortles, Tyrod Taylor. All those guys I would have more confidence starting, even though Alex Smith I don't think has the same ceiling that Mariota has.
That's fair.
But Mariota's floor is a terrible rookie game against a good defense that he goes out and gives you 6 points from the quarterback. You're not going to get that from Alex Smith.
Okay, so are you buying into, Kendall Wright didn't practice. I don't think he's playing. You guys thought he would play hurt. I think he won't play.
Okay.
If he doesn't, hypothetically,
Delaney Walker.
Okay, Delaney Walker's the answer. We know he's basically a wide receiver.
If Kendall
but
Wright
what about
plays,
Dorial Green-Beckham?
It gives him a
with
boost.
no Kendall Wright.
I mean, the hard thing is about Beckham just being the rookie. We did see him get involved last week. However,
but you had a game 2 weeks ago where wide receivers caught 5 passes in the whole game.
Yeah, and the Titans scored 40 points or so last week. So
exactly,
Green Beckham got involved. I mean, they're not going to put up those amount of points on the Jets this weekend.
Yeah.
So he is a pray and spray type player if you want to put him in your lineup, but I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. So you're not starting a running back from Tennessee. Are you confident with Chris Ivory because of the way this game flow is likely to go, where they're leading? Ivory should be on the field. We talked about this on the last show where 25 of the 27 plays or something in the fourth quarter were pass plays. So Powell saw a lot of the field in their comeback attempt against the Giants. Thoughts on Chris Ivory?
Yeah, we all have him pretty much as a low RB1. He's in that 10 to 13 range for us as a running back. That's exactly what I expect him to do. If he's on my roster, he's probably almost definitely playing.
He's playing for me. And as far as Powell, if you're in a PPR, I'll flex Powell. I think he'll still get some catches and do some work in the game, but he's not a full confidence start.
Raiders at the Broncos. They head to Denver. Denver's a heavy favorite in this game. This is the alert for all Derek Carr owners. Hopefully you have a good streaming option because I just wouldn't touch him in this matchup. We've talked about it all year long, but the Broncos have given up 1 touchdown to wide receivers on the season. Number 1 pass defense by far. Number 5 rush defense.
I believe that 1 touchdown was that.
It was to Crabtree, maybe?
Was it to the Carr?
It was to Carr.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance he gets 1 touchdown to a wide receiver. That's pretty optimistic. So
what are my chances?
The real hard part about this, and I've gotten so many questions this week from listeners, it's still the Cooper Crabtree. Would you start them over, another handful of guys that I have a hard time saying, yeah, I'd rather play Golden Tate over Amari Cooper. I'm going to go throw out, Tyler Lockett over Michael Crabtree. Those are hard things to decide.
Not Lockett.
Where I'm saying,
I can handle
even if they don't score a touchdown, isn't there some baseline of catches there that we can be okay with?
Not really. Well, I'm just saying. I mean, you are right. I would start them over Lockett, but the truth is, it's not like they give up a bunch of yards either. You know what I mean? It's the Broncos D against the wide receivers is excellent, and yes. I mean, we don't know the future. Carr could go and have the game that nobody. Well, you two don't. I have to pretend. The Carr could go and have a game that nobody's had against Denver this year. I mean, he could do it, but I'm not going to say that he's the one that's going to come in and do what other guys.
Brady had a good game against them.
Well, exactly. Okay.
Fantasy wise.
That's
period. End of list.
Amari
much.
Cooper 4 for 47. Last time against Denver, and that was at home.
So we're just not excited.
Do you know
Crabtree was 4 for 54? He did not have the touchdown. Or was it? Maybe it was Teddy Bridgewater.
You might have been right. I don't remember.
It was Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater put up 250 and 1 against them. So
of course he did, because that Teddy Bridgewater
rises to the
he's
occasion.
garbage unless he plays a top passing defense. So there's a hot Hot fantasy tip.
Okay, I've got a sneaky gross start. I want you guys'
Sneaky
opinion.
gross
Sneaky
star.
gross start of the week. All right.
Its name is Booger.
His name is Booger. This is a guy who I
Andy
once.
likes that one.
I don't know if I liked it. I hated it.
All right.
I don't know if it's Friday. It's a
One-
Friday joke.
Once upon a time,
Oh, story
based
time.
on a matchup, I made a gentleman my start of the week.
Don't do it again.
No, I haven't. We've already done our starts of the week. But
Oh,
I'm
oh.
just saying. I'm just saying. There's a change at quarterback.
Hit the button.
no. But the listeners don't know who I'm talking about yet.
Yes, they do.
Okay, let's say, okay, if you're listening, try to guess who I'm talking about. I'll give hints narrowing it down here. He plays for the Oakland Raiders. I'm sorry, he plays
for the Broncos.
For the Broncos.
Nice
He's
hint.
playing against the Raiders. He's playing on the Broncos. He is a pass catcher. He is a tight end. He is not the
Eligible for Social Security.
eligible for those. I'm just saying, Owen
He's an
Daniels.
AARP member.
He has Owen Daniels. Ever since
He has
Brock
plastic
Osweiler's
covering his couch.
Brock Osweiler's come in, he's throwing to the tight end. Vernon Davis might be missing. You've got hurt running backs. You've got the Oakland D. I'm just saying, maybe.
Is there some
All
like
right.
drop I can put to just on an island, like just separate him from the? Roll your chair to the corner for 5
All right.
minutes.
We should,
I'll
we
be
should
back
have
quickly.
like a beach, just a beach ambiance with
Yeah.
some island music.
There you
and
go.
Say, yeah, you're
You're
by yourself.
You're by yourself. You and Revis. All right. Cowboys at the Packers. The Packers are favored in this one. Weather shouldn't be an issue, but will the offense, the bipolar offense of the Packers, be an issue? Because I hate to say it, I like Eddie Lacy.
Oh, we're back.
Well, we're not back. We're just
You like him. You like him.
You love him.
Hey,
not
hey,
as much as you, buddy. You have him at 13.
No, I do. I really
I don't
like him.
disagree.
I have him as a 2.
I would personally like him a little bit more if he had a different matchup, but I do think he's going to get the ball. He is talented. He's got a chip on his shoulder now. The problem is the defense he's playing against. I probably have him a little bit too high at 13. I mean, that's a running back 2. That's where I expect him to play.
I don't think the Cowboys can score on the Packers. And if they can't score on the Packers, this game's going to be run the clock out with Eddie Lacy. And that's why I like him in this game, even if the matchup from a yards per carry standpoint isn't great. The Cowboys, their defense is all right. Their defense is all right. They showed up against Kirk Cousins. But I just don't know if it's going to happen in Green Bay.
Well, Sean Lee should get injured about halfway through the game.
Oh, Sean.
Oh,
and that
he's
will
great,
help.
man.
He
He's
is
great.
amazing. But
Listen
man,
to this.
He gets injured.
Cowboys cornerbacks have gone 510 passing attempts without an interception. That's a lot. That's a lot.
And I doubt they're getting him against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I doubt that too. So the Dez Bryant confidence level is low. It is the kind of confidence level that a superstar gets with Matt Castle. I still think he's the wide receiver, the pass catcher I would start from that whole team.
Who would you rather
That's the only
start,
one.
Dez Bryant or Jeremy Maclin?
Oh, Jeremy
Maclin.
If I had like leaps, bounds, and rivers.
That one to me is a little bit closer.
Really? Why?
Well, I don't like Maclin that much this week. I
Why?
actually just moved because of what we were talking about. I didn't think
that was something that was going to – I thought that was like perspective. That
I-
wasn't something that was going to move the
Hold
needle
on,
on a
hold
guy
on.
that has like 200-something yards in the last 2 weeks.
I tuned out because I wanted to verify a reference I was going to drop. That was going to be really good, but now we got to move on.
Yeah, we do.
Was he saying Dez Bryant?
He was saying Dez Bryant or Maclin is close,
Yeah.
and I just don't think it's close.
Is Los Angeles close to New York City?
New York City?
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I'm at a loss to think that you guys actually think that Maclin and Dez are going to be separated from the East as to the West. I mean,
yes,
I got
do.
lots of reasons to think that.
you've got Dez Bryant. What's his baseline of catches? Let's
I
just
got
throw a
them at
number out.
19 and 39. That's the two difference. That's
like,
the
what's
difference
the
between
floor for Dez Bryant and catches?
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
It was 0 through 3.5 quarters or something last game.
I mean, he has 2 games over 50 yards.
Here's the problem. This is like I have Maclin as a 2, as a number 19. Tremendous upside against the bad defense at home, on fire. Alex Smith driving the ball downfield. What's the upside for Dez Bryant?
Touchdown, red zone looks.
Maybe.
Can they get to the red zone?
How many touchdowns does he have on the year?
Well, I mean, he missed the majority of the year, but he's got 2.
I mean, this is just kind of a fruitless argument and not very helpful because we're just arguing about how much we like one more than the other, and it's just, yeah. Start Jeremy Maclin, start T.Y. Hilton, Golden Tate, Devontae Parker, Brandon Cooks, Michael Floyd, all above.
Okay, so
Dez Bryant.
Michael Floyd played yesterday.
We got to
I know,
hash this
I know.
out. How close do you see Dez Bryant finishing in points compared to Jeremy Maclin?
I think that Maclin will have him beat by at least 6 points.
I will take that water bet.
Water bet.
Stupid bet, but whatever.
That's how you get 2 people to agree to
yeah,
water
I
bet.
could tell what you were doing the whole time. All right. The New England Patriots head to Houston to take on the Texans. The Brady Hoyer reunion. Nobody's excited about that, huh?
No.
No.
Now,
I
J.J.
think-
Watt, that wasn't in our news, but J.J. Watt broke his hand at practice. He's going to be playing.
I don't think it was news to J.J. Watt. I think he just wrapped it up and went back on the field.
He missed the practice, so no, he didn't.
Well, he got it casted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And missed
He'll
practice.
play.
He will. He will play.
He's going to play. He'll be okay.
He'll be clubbing people.
You know, he may not, you know, if he puts the arms up to catch an interception, that might be hard. That might not happen. But yes, J.J. Watt did get injured in practice this week. I think a lot of people want to know what the Texans defense can do. They've been playing very well. They did lose last week. They gave up 3 touchdowns to Tyrod Taylor. So they've been a little up and down. If the pass rush can get to Brady, and if Brady doesn't have reliable weapons, we saw LaFell drop passes. We saw late drops from some of those key targets. And if Gronk isn't on the field, is it going to be James White? Who's going to fill in the gap there?
I still have strong confidence in Amendola. White is an enigma, man. I don't know if I would trust him. I can understand if you're in a situation of, let's say you're
White or Blunt?
Blunt.
Really?
I'm going to go
Yeah.
White.
I would go White. I'm done.
In standard or
No.
what
That-
scoring format?
That does
matters.
make a difference. That does. I think you've got any form of PPR, half or full. I'm going White.
That's fair.
Standard, I'm going Blunt. Because I don't expect White to get, a ton of yard. I expect both of these guys to get about 50 yards. Touchdowns are probably about the same. It's just a matter of who's going to get. If you get points for catches, he's going to get
the problem.
I'm going to go with White.
The problem with both of Blunt and White is the same that has always been when it was not Dion Lewis as the running back. Is both these guys could get 2 touches, and that's it.
Yeah, it's hard to start either guy.
Well, and Blunt has been so bad for 3 straight weeks.
The higher upside guy is clearly White.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're in a playoffs and you're in a pinch where you've got to start one of these guys, either one could put up 0.
Yeah.
So the only thing you're caring about is the ceiling, and that's going to be White. So that's really
I like that argument.
All right, so deeper leagues, you're starting a running back from the Houston Texans, and his name is...
Oh, no.
that's his name. That is good answer, Mike.
That's the name.
That is the name.
Is it Polk?
That's what I'm asking you.
I think if I'm going to start somebody...
Last week it was Chris Polk. He was 12 for 61, and he caught a touchdown pass, though, so that's hard to rely on. Grimes is getting 6, 7, 5 carries a week.
I think it's got to be Polk because we have to assume here that you're going to be down in the game. And if you're down in the game, Polk is the better
I don't
pass
know.
catcher. You don't think so?
No, I'm not gonna assume they're gonna be down at home. The game line is only 3 points. Their defense has been playing pretty good, and we saw what happened last week with Philadelphia. And
I'd still go with Blue.
I think I'm gonna go with Blue
because of the history of it being him. Was last week a transition to Polk? Very well could be, but I'm just going to stick with the history of Blue. So that's
Blue has had that times where all of a sudden he's got a game with 4 carries, and then he comes back, he's got 37 carries the next week or something like that. So anybody else you need to talk about? Chandler, you're starting him if Gronk is out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Would you start him over Jordan Reed or Travis Kelce?
No.
Okay. Anybody else you want to talk about in this game? We got one more matchup, and then we got the Daily Dose.
Shorts and Washington are okay lower end starts. I don't have a problem.
Do you have a
with
preference with one direction or the other, though?
Man, it would probably. I guess nope. I can't make a case for one or the other. Sorry.
All right, the Giants and the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. This game is basically a pick'em game. It's in Miami. The Giants have had some struggles. They're very up and down. You can count on Odell Beckham, but can you count on any other offensive player on that team?
Eli Manning.
Including Eli.
I think you can count on Eli. I would start Eli over some of the other options.
Okay.
Because in part of Odell Beckham. Honestly, after Eli and ODB, I think you're looking at. I mean, I would think Will Tye is as good an option
The
as
TIE fighter.
as anyone else. I mean, I'm not starting any of the running backs. If you have to start one, I guess you go with the standard PPR question of, Vereen versus. But I mean, you're not.
No,
you're in
I'm
the
not
playoffs.
starting any of these guys.
The people listening are in the playoffs, and they didn't get to the playoffs with the Giants' backfield. So,
But they might have got there with the Dolphins' backfield. Lamar Miller,
Yes.
back with 20-plus carries last week.
Yep, you gotta go full confidence with Lamar Miller.
Landry had a tough game, but they only threw for 86 yards. I think that changes. The Giants have given up 250-plus in 83% of their games. The Landry, Parker storyline, I'm very, I've told a lot of people, flex Devontae Parker.
I do not blame you at all. Matthews, we saw him be a very productive fantasy player in this system, and he is out because of his broken ribs. Devontae Parker is, dare I say, a more talented player than Rashard Matthews, as was evidenced in one play.
Yeah.
he jumped
on the touchdown catch.
so high.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had moon shoes on. So I love that as a sleeper pick.
Who would
Parker?
He'd be quite the sleeper pick for Monday Night Football. You'd bring him in there into the week, give you a big game. Glory play.
We've recommended him to a lot of people. Mike, who do you like better between Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker? Standard score.
I'll still go with Landry.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with
Landry's
Landry,
been
too.
a target vacuum for almost the entire season, so I will stick with him.
Good.
But I think Parker's I like him.
Interesting play.
I like
Interesting
him.
play. All right, that does it for Fantasy Forecast. Let's take a few minutes. Let's get into the daily fantasy sports and discuss some of the guys that our good friend Chris Meaney likes for this upcoming week, number 14.
The Daily Dose.
After a little bit of a hiatus from our favorite part of the show, because he is an adorable man, Chris Meaney from the Fantasy Sports Network is back to drop some daily fantasy knowledge with us in the Foot Clan. How are you doing, Chris?
You guys are so sweet to me. I missed you guys.
How was your non-Thanksgiving break? Because up there in Canada, you guys don't get the sweetness.
They don't celebrate Thanksgiving?
Not like America does.
No, not like America at all. Ours is in October, but we love it just because there's so much football. So we're just like, yeah, football all the time.
Special
last
football
week
day.
was okay to me. What's that?
Special football day.
Yeah, it's just the football, right? For us, we're just like, we love the American Thanksgiving for plenty of reasons, I suppose. But football, obviously, the big one. You get the 3 games, which is plus. I did okay last week. I had not James White, but Brandon Bolden, and I still did okay. So it's tough to pick which New England running back is going to be the guy, but I actually think it's James White, but I could be wrong.
So let's start at the top then before we get into the specials like James White. The quarterback position, who are you paying up for, or is there a lower tier guy you like this week?
I think it's, again, pretty safe with Cam. My favorite quarterback is Big Ben Roethlisberger. I just love that offense so much. The Steelers are it just seems like every single week they put up about 30 points. I know last week somebody won $1 million with Ben, Bryant, Brown, D'Angelo Williams, and Steelers D. That's actually unheard of. I've never seen anything like that before. I wouldn't expect that to happen again, but I want to pay up for Cam Newton. He's just so consistent, averaging 24 FanDuel points a game. That's tops. I mean, Brady's averaging 24.8. I'm not willing to pay for him. I just don't like the offense as much with some of the guys that are dropping balls, and he's missing, obviously, Gronk and Edelman. So I'm willing to pay for Big Ben. On the other side of that, if you want to go Andy Dalton, I can respect that as well. I do think this time around is going to be high scoring. Last time it wasn't, but these two teams have played some high scoring games before in the past. They've also played some tight games as well. So it's a little unpredictable, I suppose, but I'm still willing to pay for Big Ben. A lot of people like Tyrod Taylor in a terrific matchup, and I understand that as well if you want to go him and Sammy. But those are the two quarterbacks. Certainly, they're just so safe, Cam and Big Ben. Last week in a huge tournament, I rolled out Blaine Gabbert. It worked out late. Again, these type of players, the Blaine Gabberts, the Alex Smiths, they have okay matchups, but they're just a little bit inconsistent. I'm okay with rolling them out in tournaments. But again, for cash, for 50-50s, for safe guys, I just really like Ben. And also, I suppose I could give a shout out to Jameis Winston. Everyone always wants to pick on that secondary for the Saints. So Winston, I mean, now he's got Austin Sperry-Jenkins back. Only played 21 snaps last week, but still second in the team in targets with 6. So I like the receiving core there as well, and I even like Doug Martin. But those are the quarterbacks that I'm really looking at to pay up for.
All right, let's talk running backs. Who are must-have guys in your lineup?
I think it would just be silly not to have LaShawn McCoy in a revenge spot. And you know what? I believe only over the past 4 weeks, only Stewart and Martin have more carries than LaShawn McCoy. This is obviously a game that he really, really wants. He's been vocal all year about how displeased he was for being traded. Chip Kelly this, Chip Kelly that. It's been a lot of talk this week. It's been a lot of talk all year. The Eagles struggle against running backs. I expect LaShawn McCoy actually to have a really good day. Even though they've only given up 5 rushing touchdowns, they're still like top 10 in rushing yards against. So I like LaShawn McCoy. I like Doug Martin. But again, some of these backs that you can if you get them, you can afford higher-end wide receivers and quarterbacks. There's a few of them. I like T.J. Yeldon. Finally, this guy got in the end zone last week against, he finally got a touchdown against Tennessee. This week he gets the Colts. He's just been consistent all year. I mean, you look at 4 receptions last week. Before that, 4, 3, 5, 3. So he's getting the catches. He's getting about 50 to 70 yards here and there. So if he can just find the end zone again, I think he can return value at 6'4". Sean Drone is another guy.
The big salad. That's what we call him here. The big salad. You please spread that around Canada.
Nice. Yeah, he's just consistent. I mean, he's getting catches, right? I mean, he's not blowing anybody away on the ground with his rushing yards. I mean, 36, 51, 37, 58 in the past couple. But again, 5 catches, 8 catches, 4 catches. So he's a guy that I know Pat and I like a lot. Sean Drone is just Sean Drone! There he is. Yeah, have you heard that? He's a consistent guy. He's getting catches. I mean, Blaine Gabbert is just dumping off to him. So if he's going to get 5 or 6 catches every game, chip in for 50 yards, if he can just find the end zone again, then there you go. At $6,500, you're laughing.
Are you going to take a gamble on Eddie Lacy? We know he was benched for being out past his curfew, his grown man curfew. But the talk is that may have been rectified to him regaining his position as the top back. Are you gonna risk him in a cash game this week?
No, I can't play him. Guys like Eddie Lacy, DeMarco Murray, you just can't play them in cash games. They're just way too inconsistent. I get it. Mike McCarthy says Eddie Lacy looks rejuvenated. He expects a good week of practice. He expects him to be productive this weekend. But can you really trust that? It's really hard to trust. But in a big tournament play, sure, why not? You can roll him out in a huge tourney. But in a cash, in a 50-50 head-to-heads, there's no way I'm trusting Eddie Lacy.
All right, let's talk some wide receivers. The guys that you're paying up for. Are you buying Antonio Brown? You like Big Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lineup with Ben, Bryant, and Brown. I love Brown. How could you not like Brown? I mean, this guy is just so consistent, especially with Big Ben as his quarterback. He's had big games against the Bengals this year. He had a touchdown. Last year, he had 2 100-yard games against them, double-digit targets in both of them, so he gets a lot of play. I'm in on Ben. I'm down on Julio Jones. Doesn't have a great matchup this week. He's kind of been really mediocre over the past few. So if you can't really get Beckham and Brown, in one lineup I want Brown, and in another one I want Beckham. It's really hard to go both of them. But I also, and I failed to mention, I do like the Russell Wilson, maybe Baldwin stack. I know they've been hot lately. Maybe people will be on that, but it's another nice matchup. Baltimore gives up fantasy points top 10 to quarterbacks, top 5 to wide receivers. So I like both of those guys as well.
What about D Lockett?
And Seattle D. Pat loves Seattle D. Lock it in, of course, right?
With Lockett.
Oh, with Lockett.
Oh,
okay.
We set the pick 6 at over under at 1.5 for Seattle. What are you guys taking?
Yeah, over under pick 6 for 1.5 for Seattle, Pat. Over. He's over without hesitation. Yeah,
I
sure.
went over too. So a guy that we like, he was a first round wide receiver pick. He's finally getting his chance. Devontae Parker. Are you doing anything with lineups for Devontae Parker?
Absolutely. I like Parker a lot. He was. I played him in a couple contests last week. He's only 5'9" against the Giants. For sure. I mean, he didn't get as many targets as I wanted him to get last week. But again, 7 catches in the past 2 weeks, 80 yards and a touchdown the one, 63 and a touchdown the other one, and a terrific grab in the end zone too. This guy's a really, really talented player. And I remember listening to you guys earlier in the year talk about how he could be last year's Odell Beckham Jr., a guy who suffered an injury, missed the first few weeks, takes a little bit of time to learn the playbook, get in there, get a feel. So, I mean, I like him a lot at that price point for sure.
And let's wrap it up with some tight ends. What are you doing to fill that void now that the man Rob Gronkowski is out? He's very unlikely to return this week. What are you doing there?
Yeah, the tight end position, I mean, again, it's safe with Greg Olsen. He's always really safe. You're going to pay up for him 6'6". I do like Travis Kelce. I just think San Diego is just not a great secondary. On the flip side of that, I still like Macklin. People are not giving Macklin enough love because of Verrett, but I mean, Macklin's been really good the past 2 weeks. Another guy. Scott Chandler's another guy I'm going to go to, $5,800. Why not? He's still got a lot of looks with Brady. I do like Austin Sperry-Jenkins, and maybe just kind of under the radar guy. And it's interesting because we'll see what some FanDuel. If you check out the FanDuel show, we talk about some ownership numbers on Friday. So check that out on our YouTube page. But I like Ty. I like this Ty guy from the Giants.
The Ty fighter.
I mean, why not? He's getting a lot of looks. Over the past 3 weeks, this guy's got 14 catches, 70 yards, 74, 56, close to 20 targets over the last 3 weeks. The only thing is he hasn't been able to find the end zone. So I'm going to go Ty.
All right, just a quick question to wrap it up. Would you go Ty or would you go Wilson in Seattle?
Oh, Luke, Canadian boy.
Wilson.
Is that a Canadian question for me?
Yeah, just a special for our friends of the North.
Yes, I think I would go Ty. I really do. I think there's this more safe. Luke, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. You get the
He's got a lot of L's in his name, though.
Yeah,
he's got a ton of L's in his name.
Can you explain the double L's to us? We do not understand it.
Yes, I know the double L Wilson.
You Canadians.
I would go Ty in that situation for sure. But I do like Russell Wilson. He's been really hot lately. In the last 3 games, 11 touchdowns, just shy of 1,000 yards, no interceptions, 100 on the ground, a rushing touchdown. So if you do want to go a Seattle stack, it could be a contrarian play for sure if you plug in double L Wilson.
All right, so big thank you to Chris Meaney from the Fantasy Sports Network.
I was just going to say we got Nando lined up for next week, so he better bring it.
Nice. And he's pumped. He told me, I was there with him last week. We were watching some football. He said he's going to go on the Fantasy Footballers, and he couldn't be more happy.
And then we got to get Pat back on, too. So tell Pat that he's to be expecting a phone call. We're just going to invite your entire channel onto our show and have a big party.
We love you on the channel. Pat, they said expect a phone call in the future. They want you on. Me? No, you don't want any part of me.
All right, so big shout-out, Chris Meaney. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next week, man.
No problem, guys. Everybody, good luck fantasy football playoff time, and good luck with your picks this weekend. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks again to Chris Meaney for joining us on the show, talking some DFS. We missed him, and I'm glad he's back.
There was a hole
in
my
heart.
With you. It's back. It's
and
full.
Pat. And
all right.
Pat.
Even though this show's a little longer, we're gonna answer some questions. Listeners have sent in questions for this week. We think they're pretty important, so we want to answer some of those.
Mailbag.
If you have a question, it's still going. Wow, it's really impressive after all the cheering you did at the Cardinal game.
I felt like a balloon just going down right there.
Yeah, that's how we feel about you. The mailbag, you want to submit a question, you go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the submit a question button in the upper right-hand corner. You can also call us, leave us a voicemail question. We're going to answer a couple voicemail questions. The phone number there is 302-464-TFFB. Let's answer a couple of those as soon as I can pull them up.
So, if you call that number, sometimes...
Hey, guys. This is Matt in Minnesota here. Love your show. You guys are great. Question is, this weekend, I have to choose a receiver here. I need to start, and I have a Vincent, Jackson here of Tampa Bay, or T.Y. Hilton of the Colts. Not sure which one would be better. What's your advice? Thanks. I appreciate it.
Ooh, that's
a
tough.
close one.
That is.
I have Vincent Jackson at 24. I have Hilton at 20. But you guys have them kind of in a different place. Jason has T.Y. Hilton at 29. Mike, you have him at 32, so that bumps him down. Consensus-wise, we have Jackson at 19, Hilton at 25.
I like it.
I would agree with that. Even if Vincent Jackson doesn't get the score, he's been catching such long passes that I think he's going to be safer.
All right, let's go ahead and hit another voicemail question right now.
Salutations, fantasy footballers. This is Jared. I just wanted to call in and say thank you for the show. The fantasy treats that I have gleaned from listening to the fantasy footballers have boosted me to the playoffs in 4 leagues, despite the fact that I started 0-4 in one league and am now third, proving that everything that has happened can happen again in reverse. My question today is, I have Dez Bryant in 3 of those leagues, and I want to know, is he going to lose me my league if I play him? Or do I play players like Marty McBride, Eric Decker, Doug Baldwin, Doug Martin, Lamar Miller, John Brown? Am I better off playing those type of players, or do I stick with Dez and hope that he gives me 1 or 2 great games? Thank you. And one more note. Thank you for the entertaining value of the podcast. The show has far-reaching effects. My family knows that on Sunday afternoons when I break out in a David Johnson, they know that that moment of really pure insanity was inspired by the fantasy footballers. So
Well done.
Thanks again for being one of the best podcasts out there and the biggest resource and reason that I am being successful in this crazy year of fantasy football. Have a great day.
Well done.
That was a pretty good David Johnson.
I'll answer this
That
question.
was.
Not
Yeah,
a bad
that
David
was
Johnson.
flawless.
And he followed through with the
Yeah.
ooh-oohs.
You got to do that. I'll answer this question since I just had Dez Bryant as, higher than you two.
Number 1 this week, right?
No, the answer to this question is yes, he will lose you your championship weeks here. And all of the guys that you named in your list, I would start over Dez Bryant. So I think my bet is just as much an indication on Jeremy Maclin this week as it is on Dez.
Agreed. Everyone listed right there, I would start over Dez Bryant without any question.
All right, Jason in San Diego wants to know, Week 14, should he start TJ Yeldon against Indianapolis or Todd Gurley against Detroit?
Ooh.
You know what? I'm going to go with TJ Yeldon.
I'm going
Yeldon.
to go Todd Gurley. I believe that with the change of the offensive coordinator, they're going to give him the ball enough. And even though it's a Lions matchup, if you want to bet on one of these guys getting in the end zone, you have to go with Gurley. That's what I would do.
End zone, yes, but better fantasy game, I would go with Yeldon.
Mike has Gurley the lowest of us.
He's
this
got him
week.
in the 20s, right?
27. All right, Ian in New Hampshire. In this week, do I start? Oh, look, T.Y. Hilton comes up again. Hilton at Jacksonville, Allen Hurns against the Colts, or C.J. Anderson against Oakland. I'm going to throw this out there. Some news broke during the show. Allen Hurns is probable for the game on Sunday.
That's my boy.
I don't think C.J. Anderson is going to be listed as probable for Sunday.
I don't think he will be.
I would start T.Y. Hilton.
And a probable tag for Allen Hurns means that he is probably in my lineup.
I concur, and that would be who I would go with.
All right, Ethan in Detroit. Actually, this says Ethan is Detroit.
Ethan is Detroit.
So Detroit.
Whoa.
Sweet show, guys. Devonta Freeman is going up against the Panthers this week. Should I start Frank Gore against the Jags instead of him?
No,
I say no.
Yeah, no. Both guys are going to finish probably near each other, but the baseline, you could have a bad game from Frank Gore that you're not going to get from Freeman. He just touches the ball too much and gets it through the air.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that will do it for today's show. Good luck this weekend in your Week 14 matchups, your playoff battles. Mike and I are facing off in a huge matchup, and the winner of our battle plays the number 1 seed,
the Ingramless
Jason Moore. And so it will be an exciting couple weeks filled with interdispersed depression.
Yes, it was not the best start for my team last week with Larry Fitzgerald.
Last night.
Oh, did I say last week?
Yeah.
Last night.
You're already moving on.
With Larry, and I did have the Catman, the Arizona kicker, so he came through with a decent amount of points. But I was not. I wasn't pleased. I'll say that.
Long way to go. Long way to go. Thanks for listening. We'll be back. Check out the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. We'll see you on Monday.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.